Cross forward. Hit your mark here. You're way better than he is. Hit your mark. Caution's out. Caution's out. Caution is out off of 7.
Those barrels at the end of pit road that are filled with gravel and sand have been destroyed. Pit lane barrels, that's Denny Hamlin.
Denny's back there. It's hard to tell if there was any contact from behind on Denny's part.
So that's at the pit entrance.
The 2014 race at Watkins Glen was definitely chaotic. There was even a crash after the race, just like this one with the 33 car. But Denny Hamlin made extremely hard contact with the inside barriers right at the entrance of pit road, and sand went everywhere. Denny Hamlin ended up finishing this race wrecked with sand all over the place, and this was probably one of Denny Hamlin's worst racetracks ever. He's not really great at Watkins Glen, and to end it like this was probably extremely frustrating for Hamlin.
Leading this.
Oh, look at Earnhardt. Got sideways. Somebody looked like made some contact with
Uh-oh, we've got a problem.
Contact here, for sure. Daryl Walrip and Joe Rutt. Walrip's car gets on his foot and over and over.
Daryl Walrip tumbling down the backstretch in what appears to be a very, very serious crash. Joe Ruttman, the other car involved in that incident. Daryl Walrip.
Come on, BW. It looked like the car was going to slide through the grass there and be okay, but then I don't know if it crossed some pavement or something that dug in.
Yes, and it caught a road over there, and it just...
And when the car got slightly in the air, then it just went on over. The air got underneath it, and it began to...
In 1991, Daryl Walrip would have a violent crash down the backstretch. He would get spun into the grass, and when his car would go into the grass, it would lift up over the transition with the asphalt. When it would lift up and it would go back down across the racetrack, it would start barrel rolling violently across the track. Walrip was actually still able to survive this horrible accident, which is a miracle in itself. His arms are even flailing out of the car, you could see in certain photos. You can look them up for yourself. This was by far, in my opinion, one of, if not Walrip's worst crash in his entire NASCAR career.
Good move by Mike Wallace on the inside. The FTP brake Chevrolet back up front. Mark Martin has picked up where he left off before. One car spinning. The car number 41.
Johnny Benson, as a car takes a roll as it slid backwards, apparently the air just picked the back end of it up and around and rolling over.
Different angle again for that scary crash here in the early laps, looking across the racetrack. You see the rear of the car starting to get off the ground. You'll get a sense of actually how high this car will lift here as it came off the ground and begins to tumble. Higher than some of the scaffolds there where our cameras are located.
It's crazy to think that back in the 90s and 80s, Michigan was actually probably, if not even more dangerous than Talladega and Daytona, with the speeds they were running. And Johnny Benson had a violent crash on the backstretch. When he went in the grass, his car started tumbling end over end and then came to rest on his wheels. Thankfully, Benson was okay after his accident, but it was definitely scary.
Yeah, he's got to get to the top. The top's going to have the biggest energy here. 21's going to come with a huge shove.
They are 2 and 3 wide behind him. Crossover, that's
comes.
Austin Hill in the 21. Big crash, up and over. Caution is out. That's Myatt Snider.
Looks like he's moving around, winning it down. That's a good sign. I believe Austin Hill's got this.
And the leader, Austin Hill. But keep this in mind, we freeze the field when the caution comes out on the final lap, so NASCAR will have to review.
In one of, if not the scariest crash ever in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Daytona, saw Myatt Snider's car basically almost do a backflip that would end up pirouetting into the catch fence and ripping it to shreds. Multiple cars would run over his pieces, from his tires to his engine to sheet metal. This wreck was a fiery inferno of a crash. Thankfully, Myatt Snider was somehow still able to walk away from this accident. It just shows you that the safety improvements that NASCAR has made over the last 25 years have been phenomenal. Myatt Snider's car did one of the scariest flips down the backstretch, and he lived to tell about it. That in itself is a miracle.
Too much at this point in time. If that is indeed. They may be looking at left sides while they're getting fuel, depending on how long they're going to be out there.
Yeah, that's what I would be looking
Oh, trouble. Gosh, what a mark. Ryan Newman, hard into the wall. Michael McDowell, hard into the wall.
Caution's out, caution's out.
Terrible crash. That difficult spot between the exit of the carousel and turn 6. You saw Newman tried to drive, it looked like, for a second, and the left rear tire just fell off, now dropping the window net.
contact between Biffle and Newman.
Yes, Biffle came back on the track. Newman was right there. Got into him and hard into that guardrail, and the tires sends him back out in the middle of the track here into McDowell.
You see the rear end housing loose from the car, and then it goes over the fence. But that last impact for McDowell was the one that probably knocked the wind out of him.
What a piece of driving by David Reagan, sliding through there between those crashed cars.
You never think of Watkins Glen to be a scary racetrack. It's a road course, lots of braking, lots of turns. Yeah, you have a high-speed backstretch, but that's about it. But Michael McDowell had one of the most violent crashes of his career at Watkins Glen when he got wrecked in the short chute with Ryan Newman sending his car into the guardrail. His car would actually snap the guardrail in half, causing extreme amounts of damage to it. They had to repair it, and even his entire rear axle fell out of his race car in this accident. It was just crazy.
This is going to be towards the back of the pack, I believe. You see, there's Amber. She makes contact with another car. And then, man, hard. That was Cletus that came along with nowhere to go. And Cletus slid up into the outside. Ooh, what a hard hit.
Yeah, so Amber, I mean, she was hit 3 or 4 times there.
Tough break for Amber. We know that right now this is her only scheduled race.
There's Craig Brackett hanging the inside safer barrier, and then another hit.
Those second and third impacts are the ones that get you. The first one you kind of see coming.
And you're stunned.
And another one right there.
Wow.
Gosh.
That was 3 hard hits in that incident for Craig Bracken.
Yeah.
Look at it at real speed here.
Saw Amber get free, spin up the racetrack. Just nowhere to go.
You could hear that car hitting the inside wall.
This was by far one of the biggest impacts we've seen in a long time in an ARCA race. There was an accident down the backstretch, and Craig Brackens got in the wreck. His car would be hit by multiple times by other cars, and then his car would lose brakes, and the throttle would hang, and he would go into the inside wall, where the car would smash in so much that the hood was unrecognizable when the car was picked up by the tow truck.
He is flying on this restart.
Whoa, look out! Elliott's gone. Keselowski, Reddick, 2 playoff drivers in this wreck. And the car goes over. Tyler Reddick has flipped.
Yep, I'm good.
So Reddick is up high. We'll look at the 45, the Jumpman car. There's contact. Contact maybe with Truex and Elliott. That was the spark.
It is. Truex and Elliott side by side. I don't know if it's contact or just arrow tight, but the 9 of Elliott up the racetrack, not meaning to, catches the 45. Around goes the 45, and as the 45 gets in here, he hops onto the quarter mile and gets upside down. Crazy looking accident for Tyler Reddick in the 45. That is crazy.
When battling for a championship 4 spot at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, in the middle part of the race, Tyler Reddick would be involved in an accident. And it wasn't just an accident, it was a flip at 1.5 miles, something you never really see. Actually, Chase Elliott almost flipped too if you can get a certain angle of his race car. But anyway, Tyler Reddick was racing hard off turn number 4 and ended up getting spun in the grass. His car would be picked up by the grass and then be flipped, barrel rolling on its side and then on its roof, coming to rest on its wheels. And the craziest thing was, he was actually able to still drive his race car back to pit road. Unfortunately, he was unable to continue the race, but that's a feat in itself.
Biffle coming back on the track that made Newman try to avoid running into him.
Spencer is second. They come through the tri-oval. Checkered is waving. Ernie Evans wins, and Rusty spins and gets airborne. And flips wildly right at the start-finish line. Very reminiscent of his accident at Daytona.
Oh, man. That is too bad.
What a way.
Yeah, he's moving. I see him moving around in the car. Rusty, and go right out of the picture, and it looks, there he is. Earnhardt right up on the back bumper of Rusty, and he does touch him.
That's
and
why
around he goes, and that's one reason that Dale Earnhardt went down there.
That's why he was so concerned, because he touched Rusty Wallace to start this situation, it looks like.
And the car overturns about 6 or 7 times, pirouetting on its nose, end over end, side over side, comes to a rest on its wheels between the start-finish line and turn 1.
Rusty Wallace would be turned at Talladega by Dale Earnhardt Sr. His car would go in the air, and then when it landed back on the track, it just started pirouetting into extreme violent barrel rolls. Wallace would come to rest on his wheels, but there was basically nothing left of the race car. It was unrecognizable. This was by far Wallace's scariest accident in his entire racing career. Thankfully that he was okay after this accident, and Dale Sr. even came over after the race to check on him to make sure he was okay when he came back around to take the cool down lap.
A big push coming now for Harvick. And around goes a couple cars. Preece upside down. He's barrel rolling through the grass. Ryan Preece upside down in the infield.
Gets inside that car. It's just wild how fast that car was sideways and in position to get airborne. It's terrifying.
You said it, Jeff. As soon as the car touches the grass, something about that gap or the air or something changes, and up in the air it goes right away.
This wreck is by far one of the scariest crashes I've ever seen in my lifetime. I was very fortunate enough to not watch drivers become injured in most accidents or even killed. Thankfully, I haven't ever had to witness that. But one thing I have had to witness is some scary accidents, and Ryan Preece's genuinely scared me. Him flying down the backstretch at over 200 miles per hour and then barrel rolling in the air at that height definitely scared me. Thankfully, Preece was okay after this accident, but my gosh, was that a violent accident.
Well, here it is. Waltrip in the 55, Mears in the 13, Stewart in the 14.
Dixie Tony just a little bit late in making that move to get back down. Harvick and Kenseth on the outside had a run, so they were literally going to go by him on both sides.
Watch the two. The championship leader somehow avoided getting really torn up in that.
So it looked like Martin Truex was going to get through there. Bobby Labonte caught him right at the end.
In Texas, takes the pole sitter and the driver who's led the most laps. Gordon.
They waited all day to do it, but it was big when it happened.
Left. Incredible job.
See Michael Waltrip just barely catching the left rear quarter panel of Kevin Harvick. Get him involved. Stewart's car upside down on top of Casey Kane's number 5.
Down here, Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, both of them kind of describing amongst the laugh and probably a big sigh as well.
This was probably the biggest crash we've ever seen at Talladega in the playoff race, and it was all started when Michael Waltrip had a run on Tony Stewart, and Tony Stewart threw the block. Tony Stewart would throw the block, and then it would engulf the entire field in a collection of race cars, as Vince Welch would say. The accident would collect so many playoff contenders and ending so many championship drivers' hopes. This race was also a pivotal moment in Dale Jr.'s career, as it would be one that he suffered a massive concussion from.
Earnhardt on the inside and Sterling Marlin outside.
And Ernie going with Earnhardt down on the inside. That's going to hit. Oh, big time trouble.
Terrible crash. Front of the field all torn up. Earnhardt's number 3. Head on into the wall at 190 miles an hour.
He almost got upside down. That car got very high off the ground.
In 1996 at Talladega, when leading the race, Dale Earnhardt Sr. had one of the worst crashes he ever had in his entire career. Earnhardt was leading when he got tagged into the outside wall, hitting his car head on into the wall and almost flipping over and then getting hit on his roof. Earnhardt was able to walk away from this accident, but he suffered a broken collarbone and multiple other injuries. He even tried to race the following week in Indianapolis, but was unable to do so. He then qualified on the pole just 2 weeks later. This just proves that he was as tough as nails.
Gordon, but look on the high side. Oh, Gordon comes up.
Oh, he got Kenson. Oh, and there goes Jeff. Jeff's in the inside wall, hard in the wall.
Caution will wave. Caution will wave. The field is frozen. We'll be coming back to 4 to go.
That was, and he almost got clipped again.
And you're right, Daryl. Jeff's car just pushes up, won't hold the bottom of the racetrack.
Couldn't hold it down. And this thing goes in here, and it hits an opening. That's why it knocked. That's what happened.
Oh, my God.
It hit that opening, and it just ripped the front end off of it.
There's no safer barrier there.
I think Jeff just shoves up right there, gets into him ever so slightly. And look at Greg Biffle slide by, but that inside lick on the inside wall is what tore Jeff's car all to pieces.
Jeff Gordon may have came into NASCAR in the 90s and just lit the world on fire, but unfortunately for him, he got in a lot of accidents. And even in the 90s and early 2000s, he would find walls that were unprotected by safer barriers over and over and over and over. I honestly feel bad for Gordon. It took him until he had to retire to stop hitting these walls. Even in his final season, he hit a wall in Atlanta without a safer barrier. It was just unacceptable that we had walls like this, but honestly, you have to live and learn. And unfortunately for Gordon, he had to live those lessons a lot and hit a lot of walls that were unsafe.
And she's all right after a hard crash, and the caution flag is out.
The race is over. That's Tony Stewart will win the race. I'm so glad that all these racetracks have put safer barriers where we never had them before, and here's a perfect example of why we need them everywhere.
Almirola.
Yeah, right there. He got on the bumper of it. Looked like McMurray's car, the one, turned him a little bit to the left. Thank God for safer barriers.
That was a hard lick. It's almost that car didn't even look like it slowed down as it was going across there.
She may have not won a whole lot of races or done anything great in NASCAR, but Danica Patrick was by far one of the toughest drivers out there. She was physically tough. The amount of hits that she took in some awkward and horrible wall positions were unbelievable. Danica Patrick, in her first ever Cup race, ended up wrecking out in the duel. And this was by far one of the biggest impacts she probably took in her entire NASCAR career. And it started off big. Patrick's car would get loose off the exit of turn number 2 and get spinning into the inside wall. The impact was enormous. Thankfully, Patrick was okay, but it was probably a wake-up call that these were the hits that she was going to take at restrictor plate racing.
Earnhardt Jr. to the bottom of the track. Jr. will win at Daytona. And the big one happens behind them.
Oh my God.
Levin gets kind of stuck in the middle there and comes across the Ford's bumper. As he does, he spins back in, gets the 3 airborne, and he just gets projected off the other cars right up into the fence.
The night that scared us all was the 2015 race at Daytona. It had been a pretty good race without any massive crashes, and the racing was phenomenal. Coming to the checkered flag, Dale Jr. would take the win in a very popular victory. But what would ensue behind him was Denny Hamlin spinning out and everybody crashing behind him after the race. It's really rare you see cars crash after the race when they cross the start-finish line, but tonight was an exception. And in this crash, Austin Dillon would go over the field and into the catch fence, coming to a dead stop, ripping the fence apart. Thankfully, Dillon was okay after this accident, but everybody held their breath for what felt like forever. But in reality, it was only 30 seconds to a minute.
Outside lane, DiBenedetto and Paul Menard.
Yeah, Paul Menard giving a pretty nice push down the back straightaway to DiBenedetto. Gets to his right rear. Oh, yeah, that just starts to turn him a little bit.
Got him in the right rear.
And then he collects Menard.
Yeah.
Logano just misses it, but the whole outside lane and half the inside pile up.
And this is exactly what we were just talking about. At this stage in the race, you can start to taste victory in the Daytona 500. You want to see that checkered flag, and you'll do anything to get it, and you know you've got to be more aggressive with those bump drafts.
It looks exactly like the clash.
I mean, all those cars, third turn, all those cars wadded up, sliding up the track with sparks flying. It looked so much like the Clash.
In the closing laps of the 2019 Daytona 500, Matt DiBenedetto, being pushed by Paul Menard on the outside lane, had a strong surge of momentum on the top. It was ultimately until Menard would unhook with DiBenedetto and send him spinning across the racetrack. There were so many cars who just piled into this accident because they had nowhere to go and they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. This is what happens at superspeedway racing. It's the rubber band effect. You come back together and the entire field will come flying apart if there's one car that spins right in front of you. So many cars were taken out in this accident. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, if you've liked this video, I'm pretty sure these videos will catch your eye also.